The diagnosis, as I said, it is purely clinical. Kawasaki disease is diagnosed when the child has presence of fever along with any 4 out of 5 cardinal criteria. How do you make the diagnosis of Kawasaki disease? The diagnosis, as I said, it is purely clinical. Kawasaki disease is diagnosed when the child has presence of fever along with any 4 out of 5 cardinal criteria. So fever out of any 4 other criteria, that is CREAM, any 4 out of these along with fever, it is diagnostic of Kawasaki disease. They need not be present simultaneously, they can come one after the other. Second term is incomplete Kawasaki disease. The term incomplete Kawasaki disease is used when the child has fever along with 2 or 3 criteria out of 5 criteria, not 4. 2 or 3 criteria, then we call it as incomplete Kawasaki disease. And third, we have atypical Kawasaki disease. Now there is a lot of confusion regarding the definitions. Incomplete Kawasaki and atypical Kawasaki unfortunately is not clearly mentioned in Nelson, and Nelson uses the term interchangeably. However, atypical Kawasaki disease is very clearly defined in literature other than Nelson, which includes IAP position paper. In June 2020, Indian Academy of Pediatrics came out with Kawasaki disease position paper, which summarizes the current guidelines followed in India, and it very clearly says that incomplete KD is different, atypical KD is different. So what is atypical Kawasaki disease? Any Kawasaki disease which has unusual or atypical organ system involvement. For example, if there is a renal involvement, for example, if there is pulmonary involvement, then we will say that they normally do not happen. So if all other features of Kawasaki along with these are present, then we say the patient is having atypical Kawasaki disease. So KD, incomplete KD, atypical KD can be asked in the exams. And extra edge point, suppose there is a patient who has incomplete KD, would you treat or would you not treat? So if there is presence of fever along with 3 criteria, and if you do echocardiography which shows any cardiac abnormality, you would treat the patient as Kawasaki disease. The patient will not be defined as Kawasaki, but you will be treating the patient according to the lines of Kawasaki disease. This is again, it was not there 3 years back. It was proposed by American Heart Association, and the Indian Academy of Pediatrics position paper has accepted this recommendation. It is now a part of the general guidelines. So these are the diagnosis features of Kawasaki disease, so that you don't have any doubt. So have a look, this is what is mentioned in IAP position paper. IAP position paper 2020 very clearly says that the term atypical Kawasaki disease and incomplete Kawasaki disease are interchangeably used, but recent consensus is to use atypical KD in patients who have unusual clinical features and complications of KD. So unusual feature, unusual complication which is not seen, you will use the term atypical Kawasaki disease. So moving over to the next thing in Kawasaki disease, what are the oral mucosal changes which occur in Kawasaki disease? I have written already. Let us have a look at the potential visual or the images. They will help you in knowing. They will also cover the visuals being asked in the paper. So the oral mucosal changes, there are 2 types of tongue which are described in Kawasaki disease. One is the white strawberry tongue, second is the red strawberry tongue. When not mentioned, when not specified, strawberry tongue refers to the red strawberry tongue. There is a dark red colored tongue and multiple hypertrophied papillae are present on the surface, giving a red strawberry or simple strawberry appearance. There is also a thing known as white strawberry tongue. In this, the tongue has a white coating, exudates are covering the surface, and hypertrophied papillae, pink colored, are projecting out of the surface of that white coating. We call it as a white strawberry tongue. Remember that white strawberry tongue is not a very different disease. White strawberry tongue is seen in early stages of Kawasaki disease, whereas red strawberry tongue is a feature of Kawasaki disease. In fact, if you remove exudate, you will end up with a raw strawberry tongue only. White strawberry tongue is also seen in patients with scarlet fever. So, our Kawasaki disease has red strawberry tongue more commonly, whereas white strawberry tongue is seen in scarlet fever more commonly. Scarlet fever can also have a red strawberry tongue as well. So remember that again, presence of white or red strawberry tongue cannot distinguish Kawasaki disease from scarlet fever. So these are the strawberry tongue. Whether they show this or this, in the appropriate setting, it will be one of the cardinal features of Kawasaki disease. And not only this, the oral mucosal changes, like as you can see, there are swollen lips, there is bleeding occurring from the lips, there is cracking fissures in the lips. That is also considered to be a feature of Kawasaki disease. So strawberry tongue need not be present. Even if this is present, then also we will call it as oral manifestation of Kawasaki disease. So edema, fissures, bleeding from lips and buccal mucosa. This is a photograph showing you bilateral, this is one eye, so it is not bilateral, but both the eyes, if they are shown, this is a photograph taken from Nelson, non-purulent conjunctivitis. There is intense inflammation occurring in the eyes without any pus discharge, and so we also use the term conjunctival injection. The term conjunctival injection is used to denote it. What is the natural history of Kawasaki disease? First of all, we have the acute phase of the disease. In Kawasaki disease, the acute phase lasts around 1 to 2 weeks, maximal 10 to 14 days, and the fever is present along with other signs. So clinical manifestations appear in the acute stage of the disease. Subacute phase begins after the acute phase is over. It lasts around 3 weeks. So starting from the ending of acute phase to another 3 weeks is the subacute phase. This is the phase during which desquamation happens. This is the phase during which platelet counts tend to rise. This is the phase during which aneurysms, the cardiac artery aneurysms tend to develop. And so this is considered to be the most dangerous phase of the disease. And third, we have the convalescent phase. Convalescent phase is the stage which occurs 6 to 8 weeks after the onset of the disease. The fever tends to resolve and ESR tends to normalize. So these are the 3 phases of the disease which you should remember. What are the new markers in Kawasaki disease? The new markers in Kawasaki disease are 3: serum procalcitonin, serum proBNP, and serum N-terminal BNP. Serum procalcitonin is normally normal in Kawasaki disease. It is not elevated. If it is found to be elevated, it is one of the prognostic markers saying the risk of complication is high. If there is a normal patient of Kawasaki disease, procalcitonin will not be elevated. If you find it to be elevated, it is a prognostic indicator for increased complication. ProBNP and anti-BNP, there are multiple uses they have been used, but the approved use is only to differentiate them from infection. When you cannot distinguish whether it is infection or Kawasaki disease despite best of the things, you can employ ProBNP and anti-BNP to make that distinction.